We got water all settled, everything all set. And bro, thanks for being early, man. Unlike a lot of comics I pay.
I'm absolutely time anxious.
Good, dude. Dude, it's better than being not time anxious.
If we're being honest, I walked around the block.
Hey, dude. All good. Alright, we'll get a solo Ted Jones intro because next Thursday we have the Ted Jones Comedy Show, March 16th, 8 p.m., 145 Bowery at the Moxie Hotel, Lower East Side. And as you guys are listening to this, I'm actually in Miami right now, visiting my dad. I'm coming home tomorrow being Tuesday. But right now you're getting a look at me. I am not as tan as hopefully I will be when I get back. But, we'll just have to pray for sun down there in Miami. It's also like there's like a lot of pressure when you go to a destination type spot when you're like, oh, I need to get out of the cold weather. I need to go down to somewhere warm. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm staying there 4 nights and hopefully like every day I'll get some sort of sun. We'll see. I'm also seeing my grandma. Shout out grandma. The first night that I'm down there, Thursday night. Grandma, big fan of the Ted Jones World podcast. What's up, dude? I'm running through a quick ad for the pod, but Papa Squat, dude. Thanks for coming.
Having me.
Yeah, dude. So we got right into it, and Ahri actually early, which if there are any comedians listening, take note, okay? It doesn't hurt to show up 10 to 5 minutes early, something like that. Better than 30 minutes late. Ahri, what's up, dude?
What's the average amount of people that show up late? Like 90? And what's the amount of time they're usually late?
Yeah. So I've thought about this before. I'd say 90% of people are 5 minutes late at least. Mm-hmm. 65 to 70 people are 10 minutes late. And then, bro, like I'd say like 45 to 50% are sometimes 15 minutes late. And, I get it if people are coming from, like a subway and shit like that. But, like, I feel like over 10 minutes is a little
don't
much.
Trust anyone who says they're late because of the subways in New York. It's like listen, this is a hot take.
Bro, you telling me that you walked around the block just like, it made me feel good that there's still hope for comedians in the world to show up a little bit early. And also, bro, you have like a gig. So I feel like you said you're time anxious.
Very.
How did you get
my
that
whole
way?
life?
Really?
I had Judaism, I think, is the
Shabbat Shalom, brother.
Shalom. I've always been like this. I did know. Yeah. I could tell by your face,
bro. And you have tennis socks on here on the right foot, guys. Can you zoom in on that, Ted Jones, quickly?
Yeah,
bro. And I played tennis at UConn. Grew up playing tennis fully, so
I
appreciate that.
We should play.
You grew up in Jersey, correct?
Yeah.
Where in Jersey?
Bergen County.
Okay, so I spent the first 6 weeks of my life in Princeton. I was born in New Brunswick.
6 weeks.
And then I moved to Manhattan. Who calculates
the first 6
Well, you know what I mean? I want to give a little spunk to my character. The kid's born in Jersey.
So you go to Hoagie Haven
bad.
when you were 6 weeks old?
Yeah, you had to bite a Hoagie Haven. At least I know what a hoagie is. Like people from New York don't appreciate the Wawa hoagies, right? The Long Beach Island type hoagies.
So you play tennis at UConn.
Yeah.
I almost went to UConn, and then I went to UConn, and I was like, this place fucking sucks.
Interesting.
There's nothing around stores.
Oh, there's nothing to do. I mean, like,
it's nothing.
A lot of it had to do with the basketball teams being so good and the notoriety of the Division I team. Like, I could have played top level type of D3, but my grades weren't really that great.
Yeah.
I wanted to get out of the city, but I would have gone to Miami if I could have played right away.
Miami or Miami? Okay.
Miami of Ohio.
I mean, they do have a good, decent tennis program.
Yeah. But it's funny how, like, that would even be misconstrued to other people. Like, oh, yeah, I'm going to Miami. And people actually mean Miami of Ohio. It's a whole thing. The hell?
I went to Indiana, and there's also an Indiana University of Pennsylvania.
IUPUI?
No, that's Indiana University, Purdue University. It's this weird fucking split university. It's so fucking, random, it should be illegal.
Yeah, colleges with the same name, they need to figure it out. There should be trademarks on college names.
I tried out for the club team at IU, and
I bet they were pretty good, man.
They were really good. Yeah. I mean, the club teams at those like top Big Ten schools are like better than like most D2 programs. And I got like one day into the tryouts and then was also like pledging a fraternity. I was just like, I just want to drink and try to lose my virginity.
One. So I had heard that kids who went to Indiana, kids who were around my age or whatever, when they were going on their recruiting trips.
Yeah.
It was known that the coach would tell them, like, this is what you have to do to even think about playing in the starting lineup. It was one, you had to run a mile in under 5 minutes and 30 seconds.
You
had to maintain a GPA, which I think is pretty standard, but there were just so many fitness hurdles that you needed to do in order to start playing. But I did look at Indiana for a second, but they just had a pretty top tier program.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
UConn
their
didn't
women's
really-
team too is, I think, even better than their men's team.
Yeah.
Do you think we'd start talking college tennis on this?
No, dude, I didn't know. And like, who knew? Like, people take off their shoes here, and I rarely have a comment to make after that. But there you go, dude.
Tennis socks,
All right,
by
so-
far the best socks. They hold up the longest.
I bet. So when did you get these though?
I got them 22 years ago. No, I got them like
because they look like Federer type socks.
Not anymore because he dropped Nike, but
There you
I get new tennis socks like every spring.
You go to the U.S. Open every year?
Every year since I'm 3 years old.
You see your boy with the freaking players passes over there, dude.
It's great. Sometimes I have
Hell
I have a
yeah.
do you have any reoccurring dreams, like real dreams?
Yeah, weird you asked me that because like it was my ex-girlfriend's birthday yesterday, and we're tight. Like she's the same age as me, and I messaged her, and she didn't get back to me till this morning. People get a lot of messages, whatever. I didn't take it personally at all, but I slept from like 7 a.m. this morning to 8 a.m. Like I had woken up at 7 a.m. for a moment, and I just had like a very vivid dream about her.
Yeah, this is actual like a medical thing. Like you dream the most like right before you're about to wake up, and I have a reoccurring dream of me playing in the U.S. Open.
Let's go.
And like living out. If you've
I've
ever
had that dream
seen,
too before.
have you ever seen? You've seen the movie Wimbledon, right?
Yeah, dude. It pisses me off, by the way, just before you go on whatever you say. It pisses me off when they cast people who cannot play tennis.
It's so, dude. It's such a weird niche thing to be pissed off about.
Yeah, because like everybody can play every other sport, kind of.
There is one
Chad
actor
Michael Murray
who's
and
really
one
good
girl.
at tennis, and there's a movie, I don't remember. It's two brothers, and they play doubles, and it's the guy who was in New Girl and About a Boy. The guy who plays Sam in New Girl. I don't know his name, but he's a phenomenal tennis player.
About a Boy, one of my favorite movies.
It makes me so fucking mad.
Yeah, dude.
When they cast someone who play tennis, it's like you could find any tennis. You need to be if you're in a tennis movie or TV show, you need to be a better tennis player than you are an actor. And they don't care about the tennis part at all. They're like, nobody will pay attention.
Remember Shia LaBeouf playing John McEnroe?
Yeah, it was bad. He couldn't even.
I
I noticed it. I was like, dude's playing with like a volley grip.
Yeah,
trying
the only
to hit
thing
his
he had
fucking
right was
forehand.
the serve, right? You just stand like this, and then everything else.
Yeah,
is just
but you
like,
watch the hands are the indicator by far. It's like these people are holding like Western grips to volley at the net. I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah, dude.
They need a
it's
tennis
bizarre.
coordinator on set.
Yeah, or at least use extras.
Yeah.
Yeah, like they can do that a little bit. Because basketball, you can kind of get away with it. Like Chad Michael Murray was a terrible basketball player in One Tree Hill. I don't know if you saw this clip that came up, bro. I never watched that show. It was the crowd. The high school gym was filled with like 5,000 people.
Yeah.
He pulls up for a mid-range jumper.
Yeah.
Airballs it. And
It's
he's
embarrassing. I think I don't think in the last like 20 years that there's been a sports movie that has like paid real homage to like athletes well. Like if you look at like Major League, like Charlie Sheen looks like he can throw a fucking fastball.
Yep.
Kevin Costner in any baseball movie looks like he knows how to play baseball. They cast these fucking young, hot guys now who have no clue how to play sports.
I think it kind of started with maybe the Zac Efron in High School Musical.
Yeah.
People saw like, oh, you can have a heartthrob. He doesn't need to be great at basketball, but we can cause all this commotion around it. And then that point, it seems like we can cast A-list actors. They don't need to know how to play the sport.
Yeah, that's why if you're making a tennis movie, me and Ted want to be in the movie. I think.
Absolutely, bro.
Yeah.
Did you play tournaments in New Jersey?
Yeah,
USTA?
yeah.
Nice.
Here's my issue with tennis. I was a tennis prodigy up until I was about 9 years old. And then I never got better.
That's honestly no joke, by the way, because if you play tennis from the ages of like 6 to 9, that's a huge group of professionals will go on to make it when you start at 6 years old.
I started playing at 3. Like
Damn.
I was like obsessed with it, and I was really good. And then I got to like 9, 10, 11, and I just like was not getting better because I wasn't growing. So I didn't grow. I didn't go through puberty until I was like 20. So I was so small. I just didn't have the power that I needed.
Yeah, so
and I
one
just
of your clips,
never
people were making fun of you and shit.
in tennis.
No, I think just because you didn't hit
Oh, I was about to say,
puberty,
do you have
so
like
you're
high school tape on me that you're watching? I'd love to see it. Yeah, it's just like I never got better, and then I was always good. Like I played through high school, I tried out for college. Like I was really good.
But were your parents kind of, did they start you on that? Starting that young?
My dad, yeah, my dad was a big tennis guy.
What was his background?
He was a college basketball coach. So sports were like really big in my family.
College?
Felician College. It's a D2 school in New Jersey that specializes in nursing. Really great school.
How many years did he coach there for?
10.
So he wanted his son to be a competitive athlete? Why didn't you play basketball?
Well, I didn't grow. I was fucking 5'3" until my senior year of high school.
Bro, that's like Andy Roddick.
Yeah.
Well, not senior year of high school, but he had the growth spurt apparently from like, 5'3" to 6'2". Well,
I have a very hot take on Andy Roddick.
He took some hormones. Let's hear it. Dude, I think he still has the most swag of anyone who has played tennis. Like, I watched him, sorry, just before we get into it, I watched him in the 2009 like Leg Mason Classic just warming up the other day on YouTube. I love watching
Here's why I think Andy Roddick was good and not great. And this is a take I promise you've never heard before. Okay. A lot of the best tennis players, you look at Federer, Agassi, Sampras, Djokovic, Nadal. Halfway through a match, they'll change their shirt. Halfway through a match. You sweat a shitload in these matches. Sometimes they're 5 hours long. When you sweat in these moisture-wicking shirts, the sweat just stays on the shirt. They get heavy as shit. Andy Roddick never fucking changed. So those shirts by like the second or third set, they're 3, 4, 5 pounds of sweat. He's dragging that shit around. That's why he was good and not great.
Is there a particular match that you're referring to where?
I mean, the Wimbledon match that went like 5 sets that he should have won.
I think it might have been 2009 against Fed.
Yeah.
He didn't change his shirt the entire match?
Yeah. Can
we fact check that, Ari? You sure?
Do you think that I have fact checked this at all? Like, do you think that this is like, I mean, this is probably based on like 5 big Grand Slam matches and not like his whole career. I have no idea.
No, but when you watch him practicing, like, bro, he's always in the gray
covered
shirt,
in sweat.
Always covered.
Yeah.
Yeah. And nowadays, people aren't breaking strings. People are wearing way more kind of dry fit Nike Tech or whatever. You notice that people don't break strings anymore like they did back in the 2010s.
They're just because people are stringing their rackets like way looser.
And they're also switching rackets like every time the balls switch.
It's like baseball. Like when I think their tennis eventually is going to go to what baseball did, where you can't change like pitchers will just change a baseball when they don't like the feel of it. That's what people are doing, like especially with tennis balls and tennis rackets. Like as soon as you hit a bad shot, every tennis player, it's a racket issue. It's not like
what do you think
that they're going to prevent the amount of rackets that you can use in a game?
Really?
Yeah.
I don't see why they would do that though.
Well, I mean, again, don't fact check this at all. This is my hot take on tennis.
But I think that if they were going to change anything in the sport of tennis, they got to make the men's matches a little bit shorter in Grand Slams. Like we should be playing a 10-point super tiebreaker in the 5th set, okay?
Yeah.
If women are getting paid the same amount of money, not saying they should or should not, because they are sharing the play and the revenue split of a US Open, Wimbledon, French Open, Australian Open, but the men should not be on court twice as long as the women in this situation. It's also tough for a crowd member to watch a tennis match for 5 hours, dude.
That's why when I go to the US Open, I never go to the night sessions because you can go till like fucking 4 a.m.
I was going to ask if you like night sessions or day sessions, but sometimes it's just too damn hot to be out there standing around.
Right. Well, if
court 17 for
I'll
3
go,
hours.
I'll go if I have like tickets to like a major, to like Ash or something, I'll go for the night session. But if I only have day pass, if I only have floor general grounds tickets, I'll go during the day. Cause I just don't want to be stuck like walking around or pretend. You could be there till like 4 o'clock in the morning. It's
the
like
night matches.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's also has to do with the men taking 4 hours in some of those early round matches.
Yeah. It's bad.
Baseball moving a little bit faster, as you said, switching kind of how they are, I guess.
Pitch clock.
Yeah, compensating towards the viewers. So that's interesting. Did you see that there was like the bases were loaded?
Yeah, and they won the game.
Won the game on a walk.
Every sport, there's some massive rule change that people are like, it's ruining the integrity of the game, and then 5 years later, nobody fucking thinks about it.
We'll see what happens in basketball and like load management.
Yeah.
I wonder what's going to happen with that.
Well, I mean, you looked at it when the shot clock came in and they went to instant replay and you can review every touchdown. It's like the games have to evolve. Like otherwise you're going to have guys dying while wearing leather fucking helmets.
But do they need to get shorter, all of these sports, theoretically?
The seasons or the individual games? I think the seasons should all get shorter. It would make way for like soccer to be more prevalent, other leagues, lower leagues to be like bigger, for the seasons to get shorter. But
Yeah,
the
there
games,
doesn't
like,
need to be 162 baseball games.
it's an insane amount of
That's
games.
for sure. And I'm sure the guys who even play it, they're like, what are we doing out here for 9 months?
Crazy. I mean, even like an 18-game NFL season is so fucking long. That's why what I love about tennis and golf is like you can check in, check out. Like if you want to just watch the majors and the Grand Slams, like you're a fan. But then if you want to get into the weeds, you watch fucking like Indian Wells and shit like that.
Tennis
like
Channel Plus or something.
Yeah, it's great, but you don't have to do that. Whereas like if you watch 3 weeks of an NFL season, you have no clue what's happening. That's what I like about those individual player sports.
How do you feel about Live Golf? For those of you who don't know, Saudi Arabia is starting their own golf league. And who's to say that they won't start their own baseball league, basketball league, and tennis league?
I don't think it's tough to form tennis. Maybe it's tough to form
Team sport. Totally. Because there's already so much money, and the owners are worth $5 billion in NBA, so
Right.
they would have some say on that.
I have no problem with new leagues arising. I do have a problem with Saudi Arabia being the backer of the league. I do have a problem with, given their track history in the world. But like in terms of starting a new league, yeah, fucking of course, because all it does is like it pushes the big 4 leagues to update and want to like cater. It ends up lowering ticket prices. It ends up shortening games, lowering concessions. Like it makes it more attainable.
Right, but in the situation that we have in the world, it seems like Saudi Arabia is the only real league that will come to fruition and start taking players that really just want the bag.
I don't know. I don't know. Who knows what the XFL is going to do? Like Dwayne Johnson is
they don't really have
a
that. They don't have,
force.
yeah, but how much money do they have behind that?
A ton of he's got $500 million. Like he's insanely rich.
Yeah, but he doesn't have a trill, dude. These guys in Saudi Arabia just got that oil money.
It's not even money when you have that much money.
True.
It's just like it's like you deal in like human beings. Like it's nuts.
Did you watch Full Swing on Netflix, the golf documentary?
I watched Breakpoint. It's the same guys that did F1.
Same kind of format, but they talk about the legacy of these guys who are going over to Live Golf. This guy Ian Poulter, who's always been a kind of character in the golf game. He wears those checkered pants, and they're talking about, well, you're going to be remembered by your legacy here and not your actual golf titles and stuff, because apparently he won't be able to play the FedEx Cup, Rogers Cup, or however they call that in golf, and play for his country.
I mean, let the guy get some money.
Yeah, dude. It's also like when the guy's probably 50 years old, they're offering him probably $100 million for the next 10 years.
He's also never going to be like a top. He's not going to be like Rory McIlroy.
Well, what about
Dustin
a guy
Johnson,
like Phil Mickelson, though?
He's in the decline of his career.
And Dustin Johnson's going to live too.
Yeah, but I'm saying like when you're that big, you can do whatever you want. So it's either like the number 1 person can do it, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 can't do it. They're going to stay in PGA, and then everyone on the bottom are like, "Who the fuck cares?" If I'm Jeff Obendorf, no, Jeff, some golfer who went to Indiana. I don't remember his name. If you're like the 700th golfer in the world and you go to Live and they'll give you $100 million, fucking go. You're not going to do anything.
What about, you mentioned the number 1 player? What about a Tiger Woods?
There's no chance. Like the U.S. government will fucking like not allow it.
Yeah, right.
There's no. He's
they
too.
Offered him $700 million.
They He has to like. There has to have been some sort of other arrangement to turn down the $700 million. Like there has to be like he gets points in the entire PGA or something.
Right, bro.
I bet people just don't know
behind this.
Granted, I want to be very clear. I'm not fact checked any of this information. That's how I live my life.
I mean, that's what the podcast is all about.
You make bold statements.
Goddamn shit.
Yeah.
And then maybe edit it in post-production. But probably not. Probably not, man.
If you want to put like disclaimers over all of my statements that are wrong.
You just did.
Yeah, that's fine.
You just did. All right, dude. So let's talk about you growing up in New York, growing up in Jersey, and then coming to New York traveling, and where you've been since you sat on this couch, bro.
Yeah. Like your bathroom? Where have I been?
No,
Before I sat on the couch.
Yeah, there you go.
Got it. I haven't moved. I grew up in Jersey. I went to school in Indiana. And then I moved to Pittsburgh after college and started comedy in Pittsburgh. I had 2 job offers out of college. One was working for Fox News in New York City, making $29,000, which, you know, comedians, we live off of nothing, but $29,000 to live off in New York is like ostensibly dirt poor. You can't live. And then I got a job at Dick's Sporting Goods, working at their corporate office in Pittsburgh, making like $45,000, which
goes
is
a long
like
way in Pittsburgh.
That's like $7 million in New York money. Like my rent in Pittsburgh up until when I moved here in 2012 was $300 a month. I could have like.
Was it a 1-bedroom, 1 bath?
I lived in a 4-bedroom house with three other guys.
Craigslist?
No. Just friends from college and people at work.
Okay, so
I had friends from college who went to Pittsburgh too. Yeah. We all took jobs at this company, Dick's.
Okay.
Yeah. And I was working there for a while, and my whole life I had wanted to be a comic, but like it felt like saying you wanted to be like an astronaut. You're like, how do you fucking do this at all?
Bro, it's so funny. Every comedian says that when they come on the couch. They're like, what do you do?
You just like, in my mind, like I was obsessed with that, still obsessed with Adam Sandler, but it's obsessed like when I was a kid. And like in my mind, it's like you just walk in the mall and someone is like, that kid looks funny. Let's put him in a movie, you know? And so I was like, I always wanted to do it. And then I think there are these generations of comics where you have like an inciting incident and then you want to become a comic. So for me, Funny People came out in like 2009, and I was like, I love this movie. I resonate with this character, Seth Rogen's character. I'm finally going to do it. And I wrote for like 6 months, wrote jokes, and then like finally did my first open mic in like February 2010.
In Pittsburgh?
In Pittsburgh. And
the open mics there are like hot, right? It was like, what was that, 100 people?
Then it was not. It was a bringer at the Improv in Pittsburgh. There was probably like 100, 150 people, and it was great. But the night after I did it, I didn't sleep the entire night. I was like like my brain chemistry changed. Like it went good, but it like not looking back on it now, it was terrible.
Not the night of though.
Night after. I was like the second I got a laugh, I was like, this is my new life. Everything has changed. So when you start, because you started here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. When you start in like a small market, you see very quickly that there's like a ceiling, that you can't do anything. You can either like be the guy in Columbus, Ohio, or there's nothing else for you. And I got to a point where I was like, I need to get on stage more. I'm not going to really like be the guy in Pittsburgh, because I never really felt attached to Pittsburgh. I'm like a loud, obnoxious, outgoing Jew, and Pittsburgh is this weird city where it's like a city in the South, in the Midwest. It's very confusing. And I was like, I got to move. And I was also like really addicted to Vicodin. And I was like, I got to get the fuck out of here. And I moved back home to New York.
How old were you at that particular time?
When I moved?
Sure. And addicted to Vicodin.
86, I was born. I moved in 2012. So, I don't know, 26, 27, something like that.
Did you have an injury that got you the Vicodin?
I tore my shoulder running a marathon. Yeah.
Bro, I had a torn labrum from I don't even know what. But
the worst.
Something like that.
I still haven't sleep. I tore both of them. It's the worst. It's the worst injury, because like you tear your ACL, you break your fucking ankle. When you're sitting on the couch or laying in bed, there's no pain. When you tear your labrum, you cannot get comfortable. You cannot sleep. You can't sleep in a fucking bed. You got to be propped up. I slept in a recliner for like a year. It was so bad, and I like was just abusing Vicodin horribly.
Was it because of the pain or addiction? What was the breakdown?
You ever taken Vicodin?
Yeah, bro, I hated it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's either like it
fucked up my stomach during the surgery. Like I would press the thing during the surgery. I had jaw surgery, like pretty invasive. and I have a gold plate. Yeah, I got a gold plate in my mouth
Yeah,
now.
dude. Who gets grills you can't even see?
Yeah, literally titanium plate. And like I would just press that thing in the middle of the night when I was like trying to recover from it in the hospital, and I'd just be throwing up.
Yeah.
It was like fucked up my stomach. Thanks God. 'Cause I have a pretty addictive personality.
As do I. And I was taking so much Vicodin, and
Sorry, it was for the pain, or
it started for the pain, and then
two pills later.
Well, I was just like, I don't have any pain anymore, but I just like love this. This is great. And I was very high function. I was like the Dr. House of like Dick's Sporting Goods. Like I was like
he's
taking
a big drug guy. Dr.
the
House.
whole concept. Dr. House, he takes Vicodin all the time, and he's like a savant for medicine. So I was like taking so much Vicodin, and then I like would have these horrible nightmares. Wake up like pools of sweat as if I had like jumped in a pool, like just terrible. And I had this like thought where I was like, because what Vicodin does to you is it doesn't actually stop pain. It stops you from giving a shit about the pain. Like it's not like an anti-inflammatory where it makes the swelling go away and the pain. It just, you go, I don't care about the pain anymore. And then over time, when you abuse it, it's like, not only do I not care about the pain anymore, I don't care about anything anymore. And I had this thought where I was like, I could just fucking jump off a bridge and everything would be fine. And I was like, okay, I gotta stop. And I flushed them all down the toilet.
How long were you into it before that?
18 months.
And you still had the tear, or what? Like
no,
it
was past. I was like 8 months past surgery.
How are you getting it though?
It's like I said, it's Pittsburgh. You can get like, I had a friend who was just like, had a Vicodin prescription and would just give me all of his Vicodin.
Did that like make you get fat, or how did that work? Is it like prednisone, or puffs you up?
No, I mean, I was pretty puffy. I borderline puff a lot, drugs or no drugs. But it fucked up my stomach eventually. When I finally got off, 3 months later, I had like 9 ulcers in my stomach because it just like burns holes through it. And then when you quit cold turkey, it just tears you up.
What was the moment where you like, yo, I need to stop?
I woke up. I woke up from like a dream, a horrible nightmare where I was like an FBI. I have very vivid dreams when I remember them, and I was like an FBI agent, and I was like got killed in the dream. And then I was like, I don't give a shit if I like get to tomorrow. Like I've struggled my whole life with like never like attempted suicide, but suicidal ideations, that kind of stuff. They went away for a long time. They came back, and I was like, okay, I need to stop. I flushed all the pills down the toilet. The morning of the Super Bowl that the Packers won, which was I think like February 2012, and haven't had a Vicodin since. And it was like quitting Vicodin cold turkey is fucking tough. And it was like shitting, vomiting for like 2 days, didn't want to get out of bed, and then I haven't had one since. Did
you have the feeling though that you wanted to have another Vicodin, or was it just you felt like shit?
Every day? Now I still think about it. I think about it's because the point of the drug is not to get rid of pain. It's to make you just stop caring. So anytime that I'm going through something bad or struggling, I'm like, yeah, Vicodin would make this so much fucking easier. 100%. And what you do, like you say you have an addictive personality. I don't know if you've struggled actually with addiction, but it's like what they tell you, or what I was taught was like just to push the addiction onto more mild and mild things. So Vicodin became energy soda. I was like fucking inhaling Rock Stars. Rock Stars became Diet Cokes. Diet Cokes became seltzers, and I'm still on seltzer.
I fucking love seltzer.
It's great.
Addicted. I had a moment, or probably around moment, I'll say, probably like 6 to 9 months of my life where I had a pretty big ketamine phase.
I mean, that's an intense addiction. I don't know if it's an addiction, but like a lot of ketamine is a lot. It's hard. It's a hard drug.
Freaking your bladder was like peeing all the time.
Yeah.
It got to the point, bro, where sometimes I was doing it and I was like, my nose was fucking clogged up because like I couldn't do it anymore.
How do you even you snort ketamine?
I did before, this liquid IV PTSD drip came out, and now it's all trendy.
Putting it directly into your veins?
Yeah, that's what they do now. It's like PTSD. They have ketamine like retreats, and they have places in New York where you can get the drip.
My psychiatrist was like talking about potentially doing ketamine therapy, and I was like, not
with you.
Yeah,
it changed my brain chemistry while I was on it in a negative way, but like I had like an epiphany realization where I was just like, oh, this is kind of, because you kind of see vibrations, which is an interesting thing. You like see how birds move, and like everything kind of communicates with your wave.
Let's be clear. I can see how birds move.
Not their vibration. Theoretically.
I was like, I can see birds flapping their wings.
But I mean, just like if they fly by,
you can see like a trail, like a jet stream.
Yeah, dude. So it's like, it gets you thinking outside of your head, it loses your ego, but you also like are in touch with your person. You know, you realize that, what am I doing here if I'm not doing what I really want to do? And I think that was when I switched from like real estate, working in my dad's company, to doing comedy full time. Yeah.
It's a very,
right before the pandemic,
when you like take control over what you want to do, it's a very powerful drug, and it can replace like actual drugs. When you're like, oh, I'm doing the thing that I want to do, and you can get addicted to that thing, it's pretty strong.
Well said.
Thank you. And that's the end of the podcast. Let's take it to commercial. So I moved 2012, and I took another sporting goods job in New York. I was like another Modell's, yeah. And I was the tennis buyer for Modell's, and it was great. I went to
Which one? The one in Chelsea? The one that just closed? Or?
All of Modell's.
Oh, okay. So it's a corporate
type in corporate office. All 150 stores. And I was like the tennis buyer, and it was fucking great. I was buying tennis. And then when I started to like do stand up more in New York, I was just like, it's really hard. And I'm assuming just the vibe you give is I think you maybe struck or have had this thought as well. It's like, I was really good at what I did, and I hated it. And it's a very confusing thing when people are like, you're so good at this. And this sounds narcissistic. It's not meant. I was a very good buyer at this company. And it's like, I fucking hate it. I don't care that I'm good.
Like
I don't.
A sales position, kind of.
It's like the opposite of sales. You buy all the shit that's in the store. So that wasn't meant to sound like
no.
You fucking idiot.
But I think it was a similar kind of question
it's a
that they were thinking. Yeah.
I just like didn't care about it, and I was like really good, and it just was so stressful. And once you get like, for me, once I like started to really do stand up, I was like, okay, now this job is going to be the means to the end. I'm going to work as hard as I can, stack as much money as I can while doing as much stand up as I can. And then when I get to a point stand up wise where I'm like, I physically can't get up every day at 7:00 to go to work, then I'm going to quit. I never got to that because I had like a full meltdown because I stopped doing tennis. I started doing all of the team shit. And when you work in that job doing teams, like anytime a team wins, you start working. Like I'd go to the Super Bowl and be like on a flight working, getting shit in the store when the Eagles.
I don't think people remember kind of how big Modell's was too. It was huge. Before it went bankrupt.
It was huge. I mean, it was if you wanted like
Dick's
Yankees
and Modell's, right? Kind of.
It was like Sports Authority and Dick's, and then but like the East Coast, it was Modell's like in the 90s. And so I had like a full breakdown when the Eagles won the Super Bowl in 2018. I went into my boss's office fucking crying, and I was like, I fucking quit. I can't do this anymore. I'm done. And my boss and I, like, still to this day, we have a good relationship because he weirdly lives in my parents' building. It's a weird coincidence. And he was like, don't quit. Like, you're good at this. And I was like, I know I'm good at this, but I fucking hate it. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. And it's really confusing because like you would think like when you're good at something that also aligns with the thing that you want to do. And it doesn't usually. Like a lot of like people who like work at their parents' companies and stuff like that, like you're good, but you're like, do I really want to necessarily do this? And he was like, don't quit. And I was like, fine, I won't quit. But I don't want to work full-time anymore. I want to work part-time. He's like, what are you talking about? You can't just like switch from full-time to part-time. And I was like, if I can't work part-time, I'm quitting. That was the way I'll stay.
How much money were you making at that time?
When I was working full-time?
Yeah, when you went into his office.
$150,000.
Whoa! And then was he trying to like give you a raise when you were like, I'm out of here?
So
part time.
He goes. I was making $150,000. He goes, what if I give you a $20,000 raise? I go, dude, it's not about the fucking money. I don't want to do this. Like, and I know this sounds psychotic turning down that kind of money, but I was so miserable. So I go, I'll work part time. And he goes, I can't pay you that kind of money to work part time. I go, cut my salary in half. I don't give a shit. And he was like, okay, well, that's a conversation. And I was like, okay. And then he went to his boss, and I worked out a deal to work half time for half salary.
How long was half time? Like hours per week?
3 days a week. So I worked Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
So this is like remote before people were fucking doing
this
it remote.
It didn't like, it especially didn't exist in Modell's.
Definitely.
And it didn't exist in general. I was just working Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I was writing or I was on the road featuring, like that kind of shit. And then that happened until February 2019. No, February 2020.
A month before
the pandemic.
Yeah.
My boss, this guy comes to me and he goes, hey, nobody knows yet, but Modell's is going to go bankrupt. And I'm letting you go before that happens so that you can like figure your shit out. And at that time I had a 6-month-old. And
bro, how old were you at that time? How old are you?
I'm 36 now, 2019. So I was 31. And I had a 6-month-old. I was fucking freaking out. That night I went and I did a spot at New York Comedy Club, and I had like a full, like really funny, but a full meltdown on stage. And the booker of that show is a woman named Fawn Sullivan, who is now my manager. And she was just like, I'm so sorry you got fired. What are you going to do? And I was like, I don't fucking know. And I was freaking out. That was a Tuesday. Thursday, I fly to Wisconsin to do a show before a wedding in Wisconsin. I'm on the plane to fly, and I get a text from my friend Nikki Glazer, who's like, hey, can you talk? I was like, yeah. She calls me as like the plane is like going, and the stewardess is like, hang up the phone. I was like, and Nikki's like, hey, I just got a late night show picked up. Like, do you want to write for it? And I was like, fucking hysterically crying. Oh my, like the kismet of that is like, I just got fired on Tuesday. On Thursday, I get a call for my fucking dream job. That was like my first writing job. And I'm like, yes, whatever you want. And I was like, I was supposed to come home like 3 days after. I had to come home early to start the gig. We start on Monday, February 18th, 2020. We write for a month. We tape the first episode. The fucking world shuts down and I lose my fucking job.
Did you fucking break down?
Dude, I had another meltdown and finally got diagnosed as bipolar after like figuring all this shit out, realizing all my anger and depression and anxiety was not just like Judaism. It was like a fucking clinical problem, but just like there's nothing more textbook like comedy stories of like I waited all my life for this fucking opportunity, and then this once in a generation fucking pandemic, it gets all taken away. And it ended up being fine. Like Nikki and I still have a great relationship, and I've landed on my feet, but it fucking sucked at the beginning of the pandemic because we just did nothing. But it ended up being like the precipice to get me to do a bunch of other shit. I was like, you started comedy when?
I don't know if I could put a number on it. We'll
but
say
like
4 years ago.
Okay,
sure.
Cool. So you started in the era of like, you gotta be present. You gotta post clips, all this shit. You started in that era. I started in like the grunt do feature work in Omaha, Nebraska for $8 and all this shit. So I fought posting and making clips and all that shit for so fucking long. Pandemic happens, shit shuts down, we can't get on stage. I'm like, okay, I'm completely pivoting because not just like I want to be relevant, but I needed a creative outlet.
Yeah. So what were you still working at that particular moment at a side job, or what were you doing during that pandemic? Because I know you got let go.
Nothing. I got let go from Nikki's show because the show folded.
And Modell's.
Modell's was right before.
Yeah.
And then I was just on unemployment for like most of the pandemic. And then, I mean, it was so
like
fucking great.
A lot of comics were.
God,
yeah, it was fresh for a moment.
Yeah, it was great. So it was honestly like fucking goddamn unemployment was so awesome. There's a lot of comics in New York City making way more money on unemployment than they ever made in comedy. And yeah, so I started like making, just little videos like in my apartment with like my kid, my wife, just making like dumb little sketches. Cause I was just like, I needed something creative to do. I was stir crazy. I had a 6-month 5-year-old at home, and it was like fucking hard. And I'm like, I need something. Years prior, like I had pitched a show to Nickelodeon, like maybe 8 years ago now. And I always kept in touch with like the creative exec, and we follow each other on social media. I started making all of these sketches. My brother, who's also a comic, makes a lot of sketches on his Instagram. The exec reaches out to us. And I had when I started the pandemic, I had 1,200 followers on Instagram. Now I think I'm at like 30,000, which is like in the grand scheme of things, not a lot, but like definitely more than 1,200. So I started gaining followers, and this creative exec reaches out to my brother and I, and they're like, hey, do you want to make a show for Nickelodeon? And we were like, what do you think? Of course. I don't know if I can make the show. So they bring us in. They're doing like a premium blend type sketch show where they have a bunch of people making sketches, and then they weave them in and out to like a show. So it was me, my brother.
Cartoon or?
If you wanted, like whatever you wanted. Like if you wanted live action, if you wanted it to be cartoon, like they were literally just like, here's money. Make whatever you want. And I was like, I'm like a 36-year-old dad, right? Like, what am I going to make for Nickelodeon? And they're like, we want you, make whatever you want. Fucking great. And they're like, you can direct them all, you can write them all, you can cast it, you can do the whole thing. Here's a blank check. Fine. So we make these sketches. We make like 15 sketches. It's my brother, me, John Milheiser, he was on SNL, and a bunch of other like creators. And we make, each of us makes like 15 or 20 sketches. It premieres last year, February 2022.
By the way, how do people consume Nickelodeon nowadays?
So I'll get there. Hold that question. So it premieres February 2022, and it ends February 2022. We aired 2 episodes, and then they canceled it. So people didn't consume it.
Was it because of Nickelodeon though?
I mean, listen, Viacom is it's a huge company, but
Dan Schneider. Bro.
Yeah, they didn't know what to do with the show.
Okay.
It's sketches. If I were the exec, I would have exclusively put them out on social media. YouTube, where 2-minute content can live. When you put, they premiered the show in between episodes of other shows on Nickelodeon, so no one could even fucking search it. So it was just like destined to, I mean, we got paid. It was great.
Yeah.
I have the shit on my directing reel. It was all awesome, but no one can see it now.
Don't you find that things are becoming more independent?
Yeah, I mean, look at what Shane Gillis is doing. Like, he basically made his own sketch show and premiered it on his own YouTube instead of like doing it for a network, and made his own thing. We couldn't have made the level of content that we did independently. I mean, it was like a lot of money to produce these things, but like, I'm very proud of what we did. Granted, I'm the only person that could see it, but like, there's 2 of them online that you could watch.
You think we're going to start to see a lot more comics invest in their brand as a YouTube situation while they're just put out their special?
Says the guy wearing the Ted Jones World hat and sweatshirt. Yeah, I think I would suggest that potentially people are going to do that. Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on who you are. If you are the kind of person where you like doing that kind of stuff, where you're doing the entire production and you're doing the PR and all that kind of thing, your avenues to succeed are going to be bigger than they used to be. There's also still going to always be a business where advertisers want to pay people to do it on the traditional Comedy Central, Netflix, all that kind of route. The good thing is, like, people can find you now when they didn't used to be able to. So people instead of searching Comedy Central sketch show, they're going to search Ted Jones sketch show. Whether or not it's on Comedy Central is irrelevant to them, because people I don't watch live TV. I don't really know what anything is on. When I search something, I do the voice thing on my remote, and then it takes me to whatever platform it's on. I don't even know what platform, eventually this sounds stupid and long-winded, but when you look at what TV started with as in general back in the day, 150 years ago, however long TV's been around. It was like 3 individual channels that weren't associated with each other. Then those 3-4 channels became 10-12 channels, got lumped into like a cable package. Okay. Streaming started almost identical to what original TV started.
TNT, TBS.
Whatever. Like Netflix, Amazon, all this shit was like their own individual thing. Now they're starting to bundle, and those things will get combined into a fucking cable package. Like look at who you can get Hulu, Disney Plus, and ESPN all in the same package, all that kind of stuff. Now, people like us, we're doing our own thing. Eventually, that shit will get bundled. Like it's a cyclical thing. What's happening? We are just now on the precipice of like everyone now doing their own thing, and then eventually those things will get bundled, and then we'll find a new fucking thing.
How do you think your daughter is going to consume content when she's in high school?
Probably the Neuralink that.
Oh shit! Like YouTube Neuralink.
Yeah.
Ted Jones World. Geek.
I'm absolutely terrified for my daughter and the generation relative to technology.
Is there anything specific? Well, I guess you said the Neuralink, but
no, I mean, like my daughter's, I'm obsessed with my phone. My daughter's obsessed with the phone. She's
the iPad.
3.5.
Does she have?
She's got, we're cheap. So we have the Amazon Fire. I'm not going to get her a fucking iPad. She's broken like 6 of them already.
I don't know.
Amazon Fire, if you want to sponsor.
Amazon Fire. Yeah. Sponsor Ahri.
Yeah. No, sponsor your podcast.
Fuck yeah, dude. Amazon, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. If you guys are also watching on Spotify, you see Ahri's beautiful face. Yes, we have video on Spotify. So if you guys are listening on Apple, you want to see video on the platform, go over to Spotify or YouTube.
Okay. So sometimes we'll give her our phone, and a couple, maybe like a year ago, she's 2 years old.
She's like sending out your dick pics, or
no, I've never taken a dick pic. I know it's going to surprise you. Never. Dude, I've only had sex with like 5 women.
Well, there you go.
It's not like there's no one wants to see. I sent my.
But you've never sent your boys a dick pic?
My dick has been sent to my boys, but it was not by me. It was one of my boys took a picture of me. Andrew Collin, go fuck yourself. Of your dick.
Oh, Andrew Collin, I know that guy.
Fuck him.
I met him at Hannah's wedding. He's hilarious. Hannah Burner. He's hilarious.
He took a picture of my dick over when I was taking a shit when we were shooting a fucking commercial that I got him.
It?
He fucking zoomed in, took a picture of my dick, and then sent it to our whole friend group text. Long story. That was like fucking 12 years ago. So my daughter's got my phone, and she's like watching something or playing a game on my phone, and I get a text message into the phone, and the little notification comes up at the top, and I've never taught her this. I don't know if she's ever seen it. She just goes like this and just swipes it away with her finger. She's fucking 2. Like, she doesn't know what the color violet is, but she knew to just instinctively swipe it away. I'm like, what are they going to be capable of?
Is she going to be having play dates with her friends that are in Los Angeles for the week, like via
probably
3D modeling?
I mean, this is a statistic I think about on a daily basis. Okay. It took 66 years from the invention of the airplane in 1903. This, I think you can fact check. This I'm pretty sure of. 66 years, invention of the airplane 1903 to landing on the moon in 1969. 66 years. That is our fucking parents' age, okay? That's an insane quick amount of fucking time to drastically change in technology. Imagine you couldn't go 10 feet off of the ground. They landed on the moon in 66 years. What are cell phones going to be in 20 years, 60 years? Crazy.
Build your own brand on YouTube.
Yeah.
And build your own brand in general.
Yeah. If you want to start a shoe brand and you know how to design shoes better than Kanye West, can we stop pretending Kanye West knows how to fucking design shoes? It's ridiculous. I
used to like him, bro, before he just fucking started going ham on our people. Well, that's another episode.
So
that's episode 400.
If any of your friends came up to you and they said, "Hey, I designed," if any of your enemies came up to you and said, "Hey, I decided to start designing shoes," and they handed you a Yeezy, you'd go, "You need to be locked up. This is not a fucking shoe." Yeah, it's crazy. It's not a shoe.
All right, this has been a great episode, man. You're a freaking open book. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
And dude, it took about a little bit more than a month to get you on here from first message to you.
Yeah, we both got sick.
You're busy, you got stuff going on. Oh my God, yeah, dude. Epic freaking stomach virus on the day of the Super Bowl. You mentioned you had a pretty significant day on the Super Bowl too.
Sure.
So
you had diarrhea. I was getting off Vicodin. Totally the same thing.
Well, both our stomachs were fucked up.
Definitely.
Okay,
Definitely.
Ahri, where can we find you, man? What you got coming up? This is going to be dropping on Monday.
Okay. They call me Ahri on all platforms. Ahri spelled AHRI. I've got a podcast called Never Not Tired about like parenting and shit like that with Casey Balsham. Very funny comedian.
Love Casey. She did the 3rd annual Ted Jones World Vegan Hot Dog Eating Contest. And the 4th annual, you guys stay tuned. We're getting the date set.
I know you're wrapping up, but can I pay you a compliment?
Please.
I mean, I know you're going to say yes to that, but like because this is not the first time we met. You and I have met before. We met at the Stand at one of your shows, like maybe a year or something ago.
Okay.
And when we first met, I was like, this guy he's so intense and he's got a lot going on. And I was just like, yeah. And then I like looked you up after and I was just like, you're just like not waiting for like anyone to say anything to you. And you're just like completely doing your own thing. And it's incredibly inspiring because you're just like going out, you're shooting men on the street shit. You're starting a podcast. You got fucking merch. You're just like, you have like a 9 businesses. Like I would love to see how many LLCs you've created of just like dumb companies you've invented. Like when you're stoned, I'm sure, I guarantee you there's like some company you were like, oh, I'm going to invent fucking mints that taste like coffee. But like you just seem to just like, oh, if I have an idea, you just like go after it and chase it. Part of that is probably like you're an insane person, as are we all. But some people like squash that shit where you're like, I can't do this. Like it's too much work. And you're just like, fuck it, I'll figure it out. So I do that. It is quite inspiring. Yeah, you got it.
All right. Love that, bro. For real. That really means a lot, man.
Yeah.
And thank you for showing up early today. But bro, before we get out of here, pop up your Instagram so we can know where to follow you.
They call me Ahri on all platforms, AHRI, and my podcast, Never Not Tired with Casey Balsham.
We'll get Ahri on Ted Jones Comedy Show very soon. We'll figure out what date you're free. And guys, thanks so much for tuning in. This was quite the episode. So follow this guy. We'll see you guys next time. Peace.